gorgeous, isn't she? Do you know which bike this is? This used to be a classic 500cc once. And now look at this. It has just transformed into an absolutely stunning piece of art. But before I tell you more details about this motorcycle, let me tell you one thing. We are at Jaipur, and in one of the most beautiful cities in the country. The weather gods have been very happy. We have been having rains since the morning. And to make our day even better, our friends at Rajputana Customs have lent us one of their most beautiful creations in recent times, the Cafe Racer. It's time to ride on. Meet you later. We at Bikeportal had the honor of spending time with the man behind the door, Vijay Singh Ajairajpura. And what followed was a discussion based on our mutual love, motorcycling. So when was the first time you took a bike for a ride without anyone knowing about it?
Without anyone knowing about it must have been much later. I'd say when I was 16 or 17, when I had my first Bajaj Pulsar. Okay. It was a 180cc that my parents had bought for me after my class 10 exams. Okay. And उस time उन्होंने कहा था if you get 60% then we'll get you a bike. I got 56, but they still bought me the bike. So yes. That was the first time when I actually took the bike out onto the streets without people knowing at home. But it wasn't really something rebellious to do because I've always been allowed on my cycles and running around since I was a child. Started riding when I was 7. So it was quite some time coming, so it wasn't a big shock for people to see me riding on the street. So it wasn't really a breakaway from anything. I started riding really young and took my Pulsar out for my first few spins on my own when I was 16 on the street.
Cool. So nobody scolded you back at home?
No, they're very happy that I'm riding,
Cool.
So
nice.
They're all right.
Amazing. So what made you go into this customization industry in the country? Because when you people started, it was still a very nascent kind of industry without any organization of any sorts.
अभी भी बिल्कुल disorganized ही है. I mean, when customization first used to happen, at least for many, like 10, 15 years, 20 years, it was in the hands of regular mechanics and mistris and metal fabricators. They had the skill for it, but they didn't have an overall, I'd say, taste for it or an understanding of lines and proportions and what is an old school chopper and what is a cafe racer, because they didn't have the exposure for it, but they're extremely skilled. When we stepped in, there was another guy doing it in Bombay a few years before us, and then we came about, but our whole understanding of customization bikes was different. We weren't really doing it to come out with a production line of particular styles of motorcycles. Our whole objective was to learn more about the bikes, and just experiment with Royal Enfields and other things and see what we could do with the engines and with the frames, and just explore that whole platform. So we did a lot of R&D in the first few years. It was a lot of hit and trial, going wrong many times and then setting it right. So the whole custom industry is pretty much developed along with us. It's been an organic process. The whole client base, there was never a client base for this particular thing. I mean, it's only come about really in the last 5 years, where people understand their custom bikes more. They understand where they want to spend their money, how they want to do it. For some people it doesn't make sense, for some people it's the world, to have that one-off piece. Exactly. So India has its own flavor, yeah. I mean, it has its own disposable income, it has its own taste, and it's a new emerging market. Exactly. So it's lots of fun, it's lots of hard work, and it's very satisfying at the end of the day.
So what was the biggest challenge the Rajputana Custom had?
Well, like I said, first when we started, there wasn't anybody to learn from. There's only so much research you can do online and so many things you can read and watch YouTube videos or whatever. But until you don't get your hands dirty and start working on the bikes and face problems yourself, until then it was, you were just in a dark room. So that was the biggest problem. It was the fear of the unknown. Not knowing how much you would customize a Royal Enfield, if it would still look nice or not, if people would be willing to spend on it and buy it, if we could make anything from it. So I think that was the biggest challenge, to see if there was a market for it, to see if we could do it, to see if we could get better at doing it. And I'd say 2 or 3 years later itself, we knew that this is something that we wanted to do, that we were getting better at, and that people were slowly warming up to as well. So I think as the R&D finished, all our problems also slowly started going away. Small problems seemed very big, like what is a half axle, what is an axle, how do you want to triangulate the riding position, everything was a problem. But those were small problems now, those small problems have also become common knowledge. So each bike, the more you experiment, the more things you try and do with it, the more you learn. Yeah? and that's the whole point. Now it's super bikes, trial bikes, flat trackers, board trackers, Royal Enfields, anything that we get our hands on, we'd like to take it apart and work on them. So
amazing, amazing. So Vijay Singh before Rajputana Customs and after, what has changed in this motorcyclist which you always were?
I think I've slowly come more into my zone, you know. I've honed my skills as far as a bike builder is concerned, you know, where you mainly orchestrating things, you know, you have the labor for it, you have a good industrial area, you have people who do excellent machining. We've, over the years, caught hold of good vendors who sell us good raw material, whether it's steel or aluminium or anything, you know, for the production of our motorcycles. You have your fabricators in-house, you have a painter in-house. So we build our own frames, we build our own suspension systems, pretty much build the whole bike from scratch apart from the engine. So I'd say we've only become more comfortable with what we do, and people are more accepting of what we do as well, and they understand it more now. So that has changed. Other than that, the drive to learn more, not knowing a lot is pretty much still the same, you know. Like 5 years hasn't taught us too much. We've got a long way to go.
Understandable. Tell me something. This is something which has always intrigued me. Whenever you get to ride the final customized product, how does it feel?
I mean, it takes your breath away. More than just riding the bike, even the first time when you look at a bike complete, I mean, whether it's the boys or me, after paint, when the bike finally comes together, all the details are in there, the paint is on there, the tank is going on for the first time, the frame is ready, you got new wheels polished and cleaned, and so when we see that bike for the first time, it's like, you know, literally looking at a beautiful woman. Or it's a bad example I always keep giving, but it's something.
That's the only thing.
Right. Or like seeing the Taj Mahal for the first time for us. You know, as bike lovers, and it's something that you've made, and it's, you know, it's nicely done and it's all finished. So it's a sense of satisfaction. It's a sense of relief. At the same time, it gives you a lot of joy and pleasure to see something that, you know, that you can ride and it works and it still looks nice. So it's always a great feeling. It's like trying to bring something, you know, into the motorcycling world.
Interesting. So now this is a very important question. Something sort of a question which somebody like you can answer in a very well elaborate way. What do you think of the motorcycle scenario this country is in right now?
It's a scenario which is massively in flux, you know, because you've got these major manufacturers coming into the country. It's the second largest motorcycle market in the world. So India has a lot of potential. It has a lot of love for motorcycles as well. So I think you know, it's a golden goose that has just been sitting here. And with Harley coming in, with Triumph coming in, you see these excellent platforms to work on for people to ride, to buy, you know, at your beck and call, to ride, to customize. So essentially, people have had this love for motorcycles. They have a product to buy, they have the money to spend. So I think over the last 5 years, essentially, the bikes have got better, the people's understanding of the bikes has got better. You know, they've seen a Harley in the house for about 2 or 3 years now, so they've been upgrading the models from 883s to 1200s, and they understand the aftermarket scene as well. So I'd say it's definitely changing, it's evolving, but at the same time India has its own flavor, you know, in the sense that if you customize a bike in Bombay, it'd be different. If you do it in Jaipur, it'd be different. If you did it in the Northeast, it would be different. You know, the clients are different, the builders are different.
The entire atmosphere of motorcycling is different.
It's changing. You've got people doing long rides, you've got people racing in the national championships. So, I mean, it is coming alive. So it's very exciting on that front. And that's how I've seen it change, but I don't see any brakes being put on this machine now. I mean, it's only going to grow bigger and get more exciting and open up even more opportunities for people to work in or ride or, you know, do adventurous activities on motorcycles, and it's a very good time to be around bikes and be with them.
Okay, so when you speak about being a very good time for being a motorcyclist in the country, do you think there has been a change in the motorcycle scenario when it comes to the motorcyclists in the country? Do you see them changing their mindset from, let's face it, we know what sort of motorcycling which we have been seeing all these years in the country.
Right.
Has there been a change in that?
I mean, to be honest, I'd say 80%. I mean, I'm nobody to give you stats, but the majority of the riders that we have in this country, I mean, that we have in India, I don't know what the true form of a biker is, but it's a little confused when it comes here. You know, the first thing they think of is OCC, and the first thing they think of is, you know, a fat, loud Royal Enfield and a big tire at the back, or, you know, a Harley Davidson for that matter. And, you know, it's it's a little confusing, like I said, you know, because we come from bikes. I know a lot of my uncles and buas and friends and, you know, other acquaintances that I've met through motorcycling who are genuine bikers, you know, who've just been around bikes their whole lives, and you see a very like a calm love within them. You know, there's minimal aggression. There's no I'm an angry guy, you know, and you know, like this is what I do. I'm a biker and wear my leather jacket, and you know.
The true form of motorcyclist, the calm demeanor of a motorcyclist who
is slowly coming through, yeah. And that is only a process which takes time, I guess, you know, like especially when the kids that we have today, who are like 10 and 15 years old today, when they see their dads having a Harley parked in the house and they see them clean it on every Sunday or take it out for a ride, that's when the love develops. That's when the connect really comes through, you know. And when these guys hit about 18, 20, 23, 25, it's going to be a very happy time for these boys, you know. So they'll have good bikes to ride, they'll have good understanding of motorcycling, and so I think I'm waiting for that lot to really come through and shine.
Interesting. So what, according to you, has been a brand when it comes to a proper OEM manufacturing motorcycles,
right,
which has played a very important part in developing this Indian motorcycling culture? Do you think there are brands who are actually dealing with that sort of
I think Harley is right up there, to be honest, because Harley Davidson has the whole Hawk chapter thing going, okay, where they celebrate, understand and embrace the whole idea of the brotherhood, as in where you can all get together and go for a ride, and it's time off from, you know, work, time off from your family, or you could have your family with you, however you choose. It's time with the boys. It's just that embraces motorcycling beyond just buying a bike and having it parked in your garage and showing it off to your friends, or taking your girlfriend for cigarettes and you know, for coffee or something or the other. So I think biking is definitely a much more deeper thing. It's a much more sound love and a satisfaction that it gives you, more than just having a bike, and that's coming through even more now. So was that what you asked me? So Harley Davidson is what I would say is the one brand that has actually come in and educated people about the extended life of motorcycling. You know, it's more than just the bike. It's the rides, it's the people you meet, it's the conversations you have, you know, solving problems together, or working on a bike together, or just going for a ride together. So Harley has been a big help for the Indian rider, I think, to get acclimatized to the world scene. Like
exactly, even we believe in last 5 years the way Harley has grown, it shows the way Indians have taken up to the understanding of this thing.
Right.
And the next question is an interesting one. This is Rajasthan,
right,
Royal Rajasthan. You yourself understand the royalty more than what we do. What do you think? This state has phenomenal roads. People across the world come over here to ride motorcycles.
Right.
Don't you think that Rajasthan deserves a motorcycle fest, a celebration of sorts on this front?
Yeah, definitely, because you know, like you said, we have the roads for it. We have the weather for it in the winters. It's a major tourist destination as well. So if we guys can, you know, have a festival, I'd say what we would look for truly, I mean, since Rajasthan has been integrated with motorcycles right from the start, right from the 70s. The first motocross happened here, one of the first rallies happened here. So I think it's time we celebrate that love for it, rather than just have a major festival and get the big brands in and have it as a mela like you see, you know, all the other fests happening, whether it's India Bike Week or, I mean, those are really hectic. Those are really like, you know, mass scale, and they're about a lot of things. There's stunting, there's, you know, it is a big festival. It's a big mela. It's a coming together of thousands of people. And if we were supposed to do one here, I think we'd really celebrate Rajasthan for what it is. We'd have, you know, folk music, we'd have motorcycles, you'll have beautiful weather, have some dirt tracking, or, you know, just to celebrate the actual love for motorcycling, and have few people. I'd say 200-300 people, the core group in the country itself.
Original, authentic people.
Yeah, like, you know, old school racers, rally guys, old timers who've been doing long rides, and, you know, then you have youngsters who are truly passionate about bikes, who are building, or, you know, who are racing or doing anything for that matter, and bring them all together and have just a small fest. That's what I would like to do, you know. I mean, if that's the next thing for us, to celebrate the true love of motorcycling.
Exactly.
So I think if we were to do one in Rajasthan, that's what we would do.
Okay, so what according to you is the best road to ride in Rajasthan? For me, my personal favorite is the Mount Abu road and the Kishangarh highway to do really stupid speed, which I should not have told people. So what is the best route for you in Rajasthan?
To be honest, I've never done a long trip, son. I've never gone over 50 kilometers on a motorcycle straight on. I mean, I might have on a track if I did more than 10 laps. One lap is 5 kilometers, but other than that, I mean, I'd say, yeah, like you said, the Abu road, I've heard great things about it. I've never been there. It's a winding road, beautiful highway. You got banking corners, you can do 200 plus. So yeah, Rajasthan has beautiful roads, the army roads going down to Jaipur.
Amazing. The Jaisalmer roads are amazing.
Jaisalmer as well, so, you know, past Jodhpur that side. But talking from my own personal experience, I haven't done much long riding, so I won't be able to say.
Interesting. And this is something. Is there any particular bike which you have always wanted to customize, give it your own touch? Has there been a motorcycle in the past?
I think, yeah, in the past it was definitely a Harley Davidson. I mean, just that big V-twin, you know, I mean, it's that classic look, like it's a massive block. It's beautiful to look at. And I'd always wanted to work around that platform, because when it's a Royal Enfield, I mean, you're very restricted to how big the bike can be, how many empty spaces you have, because the lines of the bike and the proportion don't allow it to have a very like you know, like a empowering stance, because the bike itself is very small, because that block is small. Exactly. Now, so I've always wanted to work with a Harley. I've worked on a few Harleys now, but that was the initial bike that I really thought of doing. And as things stand, I'd say I'd love to do a cafe racer out of a big, you know, full-blown superbike, whether it's a Ducati or a Gixxer or, you know, a Honda or anything, you know. Chop that up a little, do a little subframe for it, a few other aesthetics, change up the rims and tires, and that would be the next project. I think a full-blown cafe based on a 1000cc motorcycle.
So that would mean you should be, a person like you should be looking forward to the new Ducati Scrambler which is coming.
Yeah, that's a good-looking bike as it is.
So you have now done official Harley build,
right,
and you have done the Triumph build, yeah, which was, I loved it. Seriously, I am a big fan of that design. What's next? What is the next big build which is coming?
Nothing in the pipelines fixed right now, but I'd love to work on an Indian Scout or any other Indian motorcycle, for the very fact that we haven't worked on that platform as yet. So, you know, open up one of those bikes and do them, that would be next. But other than that, we have a Fat Boy in the workshop, we have another Triumph coming, we have 2 Harley 750s coming, we have a few Royal Enfields, we have a vintage Triumph. So there's a lot of work constantly going on. But I think the next exciting project should be an Indian Scout.
Okay. And can you tell me, how does a customer come over to you? Because it's a very interesting thing for people most of the people don't know exactly what they want.
Right.
How do you help out a teenage guy who actually wants to say get his Avenger done in a Rajputana Customs way?
Well, I mean, every customer is different, every project is different, every client, I mean, so you have to brief every client differently. So, you know, some people have limited budgets, sometimes the bikes are restricting in what you can do to them. So if I was to take an Avenger, and if it was a regular college student, you know, first off, I know he won't be able to spend more than $1.5 lakh or something like that, because that's as much as the bike costs.
Exactly.
Now that would be opening up the whole bike, doing the engine, the gearbox, nice paint job, basic upholstery, new seats, that is something more in lines with the bike, do a different handlebar, give him maybe thicker tires, give the forks a little more, beef them up a little just by, you know, fabricating the glasses on the shockers and just minimal stuff like that, remounting the meter and doing different footrests and handlebars, and then just adding that little brass touch or that leather touch.
Well, that's awkward, I know. But that's Prashant, my colleague, who happens to be touring all over a Rajputana Customs motorcycle. Well, can't help that, can we? So, anyways.
Doing too much, you could still change the look of the bike, give it a basic facelift, and it would fit within the guy's budget. He could have it in green or black or, you know, any like nice subtle color, as long as there are no flames and skulls on it. And so yeah, I mean, that brief changes from client to client, from budget to budget, from motorcycle to motorcycle. So yeah.
Okay, I believe it has been enough of talking. I just cannot stop myself feeling like riding this thing again. I am going for a ride. It was a pleasure, Vijay ji.
Thanks, man.
Amazing.
Thanks, Hari.
Thank you.
Thank you. All yours.
Thank you.